And they're not even desirable at one point. Like 20% damage, if this is mathematically correct to take over Wildfire Infusion, I'm playing Enhanced next expansion. Welcome everybody and thank you for stopping by. So this week our video is going to be a recap of the last about a week and a half of Hunter news and Hunter topics, as well as we're going to go into a wish list for both the regular tree as well as the spec tree for the potentially next patch. So first thing we got to talk about is traditionally hunters get a patch on Friday on the Hunter forums telling you about what's to be expected on Tuesday. We did not get that this week. Potentially either Nimox doesn't have an update for this Tuesday, or we just have to wait like all the other classes and see what happens on Tuesday. Also, Mastery was discussed this week on the Hunter forums. There was no plans to change any of the masteries for the other specs. I don't know how BM and Marksman feel about their mastery, but Survivals is pretty dog water. So what we're going to have on screen right now is we're going to have a mastery of a Survival Hunter versus Versatility. Just looking at them offensively, Versatility is just stronger. Mastery affects about 40% of the damage done single target, whereas Versatility affects everything. Defensively, Mastery is just this small ticking heal and scales very poorly, whereas Versatility is just flat damage mitigation. All around, Versatility is just better than our Mastery right now. There's a lot of cool masteries out there, like Windwalker, for example, that changes your playstyle. Not saying Survival needs a mastery like that. However, it would be cool to see a mastery that has any use and isn't strictly worse than the strictly boring secondary stat. Also, today a lot of topics came up around BM and MM and multi-shot. Multi-shot is in both of their spec trees, and they're kind of pushing for it to be put into the class tree. The top contended area for it right now is Concussive Shot, moving Concussive Shot baseline and then putting multi-shot in here for MM and BM. And then if you're a Survival Hunter, you would have Carve here. Interesting. I'm honestly about it. With this patch, if you've been anywhere on the forums or in the Discords, BM has been broken. Traditionally, baseline, Cobra Shot has been reducing kill command. It now no longer does that, and the talent node that does that has been moved into a very undesirable spot, as well as some of their CDs aren't really hitting as hard as they want to. So, huge prediction. Next patch is going to be a lot of BM changes, so get your eyes ready to just scroll through some BM notes. Finally, some of the survival abilities we talked about last week, Spearhead and Coordinated Assault, are now in the alpha. We now have some information about them. So, good news. Spearhead's bleed from hitting Mongoose Bite is stacking and increasing the damage of the bleed rather than replacing. So that was a big concern when we first read the ability, so awesome that that's working. With the new serrated shots as well as Ranger, we started looking towards Serpent Sting. Serpent Sting is currently the Marksman iteration on Alpha. Survival's iteration of Serpent Sting is a lot stronger, so we'll have to see if this is a bug or if this is intentional and what that means for the spec going forward. Coordinated Assault. So your pet special move, so if you have a Scale Hide, for example, like I do, it's Smack, that has a 3-second cooldown, is increasing the next use of one of these abilities. With the Ranger build and the Serrated Shots build, Kill Shot single target is hitting significantly harder than the Wildfire Bomb Infusion. Initial damage increase. If you remember, Guerrilla's Tactics was nerfed from 100% initial to now only 50%. So even with this buff, we're returning close to where we are on retail as far as bombage damage distribution between the front end and the dot that comes with it. Also, with all this damage being loaded on serrated shots and kill shots, the left side of the normal tree, the class tree, is becoming way less desirable, being 5 points. And people are calling for either A, a change to it, or B, a reduction in the cost. Because as one of the two pet specs, we are no longer interested in these. It is very likely that on AoE you'll be going into Explosive Shot, as well as Serrated Shots, and depending on how the math kicks out between Latent and Hydra's Bite, you'll be taking those over the second charge of Kill Command. And this is upsetting just because the reset functionality of Kill Command is going to be really annoying without a second charge. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the predictions / wish list. And the idea is we're going to predict it so that we can manifest it in the next blue post. So these 3 points are incredibly weak and boring compared to the rest of the section. This section already has a lot of cost to it, but these 3 points are incredibly underwhelming, and in Raid and most likely M+, you will probably never take these. Concussive Shot I can be seen, and Improved Men Pet for PvP, but Trailblazer is probably going to be a completely dead talent for most of the game. But the idea is, if you're building out this tree, most likely you are locked to these 7 points every single time. You have Kill Shot, which is throughput, and its upgrade, which is throughput. The best movement ability, your Interrupt, which lets you open up the tree, Tar Trap, which lets you open up the tree, and your defensive. These 7 points are most likely locked, and with the construction of the tree, you will never spec into these 3 points. Not to mention, if you are a Kill Shot user, which all 3 specs are, your upgrade for your Kill Shot is immediately after it. If you are a pet user and Kill Command is core to your class, like Survival and BM, oh, you want to upgrade Kill Command? Well, you got to go to the bottom of the tree. This is just a really weird 3 points and a really weird design. And I predict that these 3 points, if not the cost of the entire section, hell, the entire tree, probably being changed or reduced in the fall. So number 2 is Sentinel's Owl. So first off, what Sentinel's Owls does, or Resonating Arrow Owl, is not seen as that powerful. Additionally, the upgrade nodes are not seen as that powerful and a way for hunters to buy their way into the raid with this raid utility. So just what the effect does is pretty underpowered. However, we have been told that this iteration is most likely to change, so let's not hang on that too long. One issue that is pretty big is that this upgrade node is below the 20 line. No matter where you are on the tree, making a throughput decision versus a utility decision is a bad decision to make. If you go look at the Demon Hunter trees, for example, they're like Netherwalk and their Stun are always put up against throughput, and it's just incredibly hard to get both of them. So this is the same thing here. All our throughput but 2 nodes are below this line, and for some reason our raid utility is also above this line. So I predict this being changed because this has been brought up a ton. My final gripe, and I'm going to keep saying it, as a survival hunter who wants to rebuild currently what I have, and I don't mean grab anything new, I just mean let's just see where this tree, we're going to path all the way down to 20, we're just going to grab a bunch of random stuff, open up the tree. I want to get my Kill Command 2 charges back because I have that on retail, and I want to get Serpent Sting. If I grab Serpent Sting support, I cannot get anything new. So in a world where I just grab some of the talents I have now, I don't get to play with Arctic Bola. I don't get to play with Explosive Shot, neither Stampede or Death Chopper. This is kind of upsetting for hunters. Not to mention, we still have NTA here. This is the most complained about talent in probably the game, and we still have it here blocking off Steel Trap, which would be cool to grab with Serrated, but we can't because NTA is right there, and you're burning 2 points if you do that. So this entire structure at the bottom is kind of annoying for not only survival, but specifically survival for its 2 core abilities being on opposite sides of the trees and you having to pick. But not to mention just like some of the structures just could be worked on. So I predict this bottom tree will most likely be changed by the next patch. So now we're going to try to manifest some good changes for survival. So survival has some really weird feedback for it on the forums. And people who are saying we're really close to being done, I think it's probably close to say that survival has to be one of the classes, in my opinion, that is the farthest from being done. We have some very cool ideas with the structures, but the actual meat of the tree is still very far from good. So we're just going to highlight 7 nodes real quick and just talk about each of them. So here are the 7 nodes we've highlighted. You'll notice a running theme as we run through them. Ferocity, all pet damage scaled by flat 5%, 2-point node. Improved Wildfire Bomb, Wildfire Bomb damage increased by 12%, 2-point node. Critical damage dealt increased by a flat percent, 2-point node. Raptor Strike, Mongoose Bite, Butchery, and Carve damage increased by a flat percent, 2-point node. Tactical advantage, damage of Flanking Strike and Bomb increased by a flat percentage, 2-point node. Spear Focus, Mongoose Bite damage increased by a flat percentage, 2-point node. Killer Companion, Kill Command, damage increased by a flat percent, 2-point node. Almost got the pacing of it all the way through there. But obviously, as we're just running through this, these are all just base percent damage increase nodes. The only reason I'm not including Ranger on this list is that Ranger at least is pushing us in a different playstyle. However, I still don't like this node. It is a cool idea to push survival more into kill shot, serpent shot, explosive shot, and just all the mini crossbow abilities, but there has to be a more interesting way than just making them hit ridiculously hard. Like, kill shot is hitting like an absolute Mack truck on alpha right now. Not to mention the new change to explosive expert is just a flat cooldown reduction. This is incredibly boring. Honestly, there was 7 annoying nodes last patch. Now there's 9. That's problem number 1 for me. So the second problem is similar to most trees right now, where you have that decision versus utility. So let's put in our points. Our first section requires 8 points. There is 8 points of throughput. Abilities like Harpoon and Aspect of the Eagle are just harder to take because they're up against flat damage. And the reason why there's just all this flat damage is because for some reason, pet damage is a 2-point node and Tip of the Spear is a 2-point node. If you reduce both these to 1, it would open up the option to take these. But let's just say it's 10% pet damage. Like, why is this just not baked in? They really need to restructure this in a way that our two most visually distinctive abilities in Harpoon and Aspect of the Eagle, arguably very tied to the class fantasy of survival, are just in these incredibly hard positions to take. And if you're ever going for a Mongoose by build, most likely you're only ever going to get 1. So I would like this opening section to be restructured in a way that just allows us to pick up these utility things that we've had for years now. All right, so the final thing we're going to talk about is the structure of the bottom of the tree. So if you just have a look at it, the general idea is when you have 3 capstones, most trees want you to spec fully in to 2 of them. So let's do that. Let's just say we're doing single target right now. Spearhead is the very obvious single target ability, so let's just fully grab Spearhead. Coordinated Assault is the very clear, this is both good for AoE and single target. We now have 1 point left. We have 2 1-point options, one of them being Wildfire Infusion, which is, in my opinion, a key passive to our class, is all the way over here on the left, behind this shitty talent. So we get to pick one. Nodes such as Ranger and Explosive Expert are going to take a 2-point commitment, meaning that you'll have to put less points into your capstone lines in order to acquire these. And they're not even desirable at 1 point. Like 20% damage, if this is mathematically correct to take over Wildfire Infusion, I'm playing Enhanced next expansion. Like, this is incredibly boring. I keep talking about Enhanced, so let's go look at Enhanced real quick. Enhanced is probably my favorite class, if not my second favorite class, but if you're building this out, you're going to notice everything I'm taking right now is unique passives. Flat percent damage? Yeah, there's one node right here. Arguably, this node is also boring, but I'm taking all these unique passives, all these changes, and now I'm here at the bottom. Let's build the same thing. I want to build a very heavy single target spec, and I want to take the hybrid ability. I get a choice node on how I want Ascendance to function. Sweet, let's just take Deeply Rooted. I'm now getting a buff to Ascendance that causes it to slam out Maelstrom Weapon Lightning Bolts, which is sweet. And then I get the automatic trigger. Awesome. Sweet. Build Wolves. Again, another choice node on how I want my Wolves to function versus Bombardier and AoE Killshot. AoE Killshot's dope. I'm super happy that's in the game, and that looks awesome. But it's very obvious that that node is taking your single target ability in Killshot and giving it AoE application. And then if you go look at the Bomb, which you'd think, okay, this is my AoE ability, this node is probably going to give it single target applications. It just increases the initial damage. So it's this flat increase in all scenarios. If that one's mathematically the best one to choose, like, that's upsetting because the cool AoE Killshot is just being ignored for, hey, this now hits 20% harder initially. Let's just take Elemental Spirits. We now have 2 points left. If we wanted to, we could grab the third capstone unbuffed. However, and this is brilliant, and I think all final areas that have 3 capstones should follow this. You have Legacy of the Frost Witch, which says consuming 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon gives you a bonus to the damage of your Storm Strike and resets it, versus Elemental Assault, which now causes your Storm Strike to generate Maelstrom Weapon at a chance and increase its damage. By putting 1 point in each, you gain weaker versions of these effects, and if you wanted to, you could put 2 points in to have an incredibly strong version of that effect. Elemental Assault more than Legacy of the Frost Witch. If we switch back to Survival, keeping this in mind, when you build out this tree, 30 seconds to build it out, got Butchery, all the bomb support, because we want to do something AoE. If we build out these trees, and now we say we have 1 point, the value of this is 2 seconds. 2 seconds off one of my cooldowns, even if it's mathematically good, doesn't beat, hey, you now have a new functionality for Storm Strike, both here and here. Now you just have flat damage increase, flat cooldown reduction. Granted, these are more interesting, but Quick Shot is not interesting at all. It's just passive damage from an Arcane Shot every once in a while. I don't play differently. Nothing new happens. It's just, I'm just going to see my details. Say I'm doing a little bit more damage. Wildfire Infusion, boom, taken every time. The structure of this could be oriented in the way that enhances us, so that you get 2 of each, potentially be able to point down into Fury of the Eagle, or have unique passives here to make this entire final section more interesting and just have more decisions. Hey folks, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you made it all the way to the end, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you see that when I complain about the spec, it's because I'm passionate about it and I enjoy it, and I really like it to be as fun as it is now, minus our 4-piece, in the next expansion. And every critique is with the hope of getting it to a better place than where it is currently now in the alpha. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.